Here's how to get the best lighting for YouTube videos for beginners. In this video, I'm going to show you my top video lighting setup tips, and I'll share some great cheap lighting options that will help you achieve awesome YouTube video lighting quickly and easily. Now, straight up, there's two things that I want you to remember with your lighting. The first one is that it's art, it's creative. There is no right or wrong with this, and you can dramatically change the look and the feel of your video with your lighting. So I want you to take on board what I'm showing you in this video. Make sure you're watching it right the way through, so then you know what you can play around with, so you can dial in the look and feel that you're after for your videos. And the second thing I want you to remember is to focus on lighting yourself or the subject of your video first, and not to worry about the background or what's going on behind you, as the priority is making sure that your viewers are focused on you and the content that you're delivering. And then if you've got extra time or extra lights, then worry about the background. So I'm going to take you through a few different lighting setups now, from using no gear to using one light to having multiple lights, and how you can best set it up based on the location you're going to be filming in. So you don't need to stress if you don't have fancy lights. I've got solutions for you too. So I'm going to go ahead now and turn off all the lights in the room here, and we're going to look at a few different scenarios with a few different setups to see what you can achieve. Okay, so this is what my office or my studio looks like with no lights on. The light that you are seeing is coming through a big window that I have over the side here. So if you don't have any lights, a great place to start is by sitting in front of the window. So for context, if we spin around now, this is the window that I'm talking about. But if I sit down in the chair here, so this is what it looks like with just the light coming through the window. No extra lights. You can see, yes, it is pretty dark in the background, but again, we can address that as a secondary. But so far, I'm lit well. I'm separated from the background. Viewers will be able to easily see and focus on me and the content and not be distracted by what's going on in the background. So you want to use, first off, whatever you already have access to. You don't need to go and buy the latest and greatest, the fanciest lighting gear. You've likely already got enough right now to get started with this, and you can upgrade as and when you need to down the track. Now, even just turning on one additional background light could again change the shot and the feeling that the shot brings entirely. But again, this is a really simple setup, and I don't even have the ceiling lights on yet. So if we go ahead and turn those on, then we can change up the shot again. It could look totally different, but again, the main light here is just coming in from that window to light me up. The other lights, the ceiling lights and stuff, are just here really lighting up the rest of the scene, the rest of the shot. Now, speaking of ceiling lights, the reason I went first off to turn off all the lights is, depending on the room that you're filming in, the ceiling lights could add to it, or it could actually make it really difficult for you to film in there, all based on where they're positioned and where you're going to be standing or sitting. So you can see right now, I'm standing directly underneath one of these ceiling lights, and it's creating horrible shadows. It's probably creating dark shadows under my eyes here, hot spots, my forehead. It really doesn't look great. So if your ideal filming location is going to be underneath one of these lights, I would suggest to turn it off, or you could try to position yourself away from that light so you're not standing directly underneath it, so that it's lighting you up more evenly from above and from the front instead of from top down. Now, in my case here in this room, I've actually got a lot of these lights. There are 9 of them. So in order for me to move away from them, I could probably come back here and frame up my shot this way. So this way I don't have those crazy shadows coming over my shoulders. You can see there's a little bit here from the lights behind me, but at least the light over the front, it's a lot more even. So look at your positioning in the room, but worst case, turn them off and use other lights to light yourself up. So if you don't have access to any lights, then go and sit in front of a window. You can see you can get great results from that, or use any lights that you have already lying around. Any lamps, desk lights, anything that you can use to light up your face, light up the subject of your videos, that's what's important. So again, I'm here with no other lights on, just the light lighting me up through the window. But let's say that you've got access to one light. Where should you put it, and what will that look like? So I've got here a small LED light panel. This one sells for around the $42 mark. And again, I'll have links to all of my recommended gear down in the description below. But I love this one because it's small, it's light, it's got a built-in battery life, and it goes pretty bright. But one of the biggest things with this one is it's got a built-in diffuser. It actually throws a nice soft light, which is what you'll want if it's going to be lighting up your face. So let's go ahead and turn this on. Let's turn it up just a little bit. We definitely don't want this on full brightness. And we can see already, it's totally changed our shot. So if it's not shining on me versus shining on me, it makes a big difference already. Now, you definitely don't want to have your light down here. It's going to create a really horror film look. So Your ideal positioning for your lights should be just above eye level. And if you want a nice even light, so not too many shadows or anything on your face, then you want to have it over near your camera or near the direction that you're looking. Now, obviously you move it further back so that you're not going to have it in your shot, but you can see that that's a fairly even light here across my face. Now, if you do want something more dramatic and something more that you're used to seeing in films and documentaries, then you want to move it off to the side a little bit more so there is more of a slight shadow that you're getting on the side of your face. So it's a little bit more dramatic. So light just above eye level, off to the side, or over near the camera if you've only got the one. And then once you work out the look that you like, then you could put this on a light stand or mount it just out of your shot so that it's set up there and good to go every time you want to create a video. Now the same will obviously apply for the other side as well. If we want something more neutral, then we want to go around here somewhere so that it's going to be more even light across my face. If we move it over to the side, then it's more of a dramatic shot. And again, we also don't have any background lights or anything else happening at this point. Now, if you've got a light that doesn't have a built-in diffuser like this one, so it's not throwing a nice soft light, then that's when you are going to get some really harsh shadows and things, especially if it's pointing directly at you. So you can easily add some diffusion by just using a pillowcase or even some baking paper over the light, or you could turn the brightness up and you could bounce the light off the ceiling or off a wall behind your camera. Now you definitely don't want to point it in the camera lens, but I'm bouncing the light now off the wall behind the camera. So you can see how it's still lighting me up, but it's bouncing the light around the room before it comes back to me. Versus if I hide that light now, it's much darker. So you've got options with your lighting. So I've set that light up on a light stand now. So this is what it looks like with just one light. And we can always go ahead and add another light or some color in the background just to make the shot look a little more interesting. Now, if you've got two lights, you could use one to light you up and another one to light up the rest of your scene, or you can use both of them to light you up, again, depending on the look that you're after. So we could use the second light to fill in some of these darker areas or the shadows that this one light has left. So we grab another light here now. This one's the same brand, just a little bit bigger. Let's turn it on. Let's dial it down so it's not so bright. You can again see that as we move this around, we're able to change up the look of the shot. So this here now is not on very bright. This one is just filling in some of those darker areas that were left from that first main light. So I've got the main one off to one side. I've got my fill-in light here off to the other side, and we can see the difference that that makes. So it just fills in some of those darker areas. So if you're going for a two light setup, then this is pretty standard. Both of them in front of you, both of them up above eye level, but both of them at different brightness levels, with one of them being your primary light, one of them being your fill light to fill in some of those shadows. So with that light now on a stand, this is what that looks like. So for some behind the scenes here, we've got our main primary light here, the bright one. This is doing most of the lighting me up. We've then got our secondary light here. So it's a much dimmer light just to fill in some of those shadows. And again, this already is just lighting me up with really cheap gear. And if we add a background light, then that's what that can look like. Now, if you've got access to three lights, then a three lighting setup is actually something that's really popular with film and documentaries, a 3-point lighting setup. So essentially it's very similar to what I've got here with a key primary light here that is lighting me up. There is a fill light to fill in some of those shadows. The third light then will be to create some outline and some depth on the shot by lighting me up from behind. So your third light should be directed at you from behind and ideally from up above as well. Now to show you what that looks like, I'm just gonna turn on the light that's in the background of the shot here. That one we just use as a prop. We don't normally turn it on, but you'll be able to see what three lights can do. So I've got that third light on now and the brightness is turned right down, but you can already start to see that there's like a glow outline even up into my hair here. And that again helps separate me from the background. So if you're gonna be using three lights, then this is typically how you'd set it up. You don't have to have it in your shot. You could move it out of shot up a bit higher so you're not gonna see it, but this is the effect that it will have. And with the other background light on to make the shot more interesting and to add a little bit of color, it doesn't look too bad. Now I've got a couple of quick tips for you with your lighting before I show you what we use for our regular YouTube lighting setup here. The first one is that you want to try and keep the color temperature matched on any lights that are in your scene wherever possible, especially the ones that are lighting you up. So if you're going to be shooting with lights that are on in the ceiling, any additional LED panels or lights that you're going to be adding in, you want to try and dial those in to be the same color temperature so that it's all matching. If they don't match, then you can get some really weird colors and things happening, especially in skin tones, and it can be pretty difficult to fix. And the second tip, I already told you that you need to have your lights above eye level, but this becomes even more important if you are wearing glasses. If your lights are just at eye level, then the light's going to reflect off the light into your glasses and directly back to the camera lens. This problem goes away if the lights are up much higher. It's going to reflect and bounce down, not into the camera lens, so they're not going to be visible in your shot. So this is where positioning your lights up high and off to the side is going to help remove any of those distracting reflections. Now for the lighting for our main YouTube shot, at least for right now, with our current setup in this space, this is how it currently is. So right now, the only light I have on me is coming through the window there. I have a main light up here with a big diffuser. I'll go ahead and turn that on so you can see what that looks like. So you can see that that one light is doing an amazing job of not just lighting me up and making me the focus of the video, but also lighting up some of the background as well. And that's because it's got this massive big diffuser on it. So it is throwing a nice soft light. It also means that I don't have really harsh shadows on this side of my face. But in order to fill some of those in, that's where I've got the light coming through the window to soften that off as well. So I don't need to have a dedicated second light to light up the other side of my face. I'm just using natural light for that. Now, one thing we did do when we were fitting out this studio was change all the lights in the ceiling to be Philips Hue smart lights. So I can control each of the lights individually. I can change the brightness, but I can also change the color. Now, obviously that's not something that you need to do, but personally, I love have the control, being able to adjust everything manually and also change the colors, which change the colors in the background too. Now, if I go ahead and switch the ceiling lights on now so you can see what this looks like. Now this is all lights on max, and because they're smart lights, I can create different scenes to control each light individually. So for filming, I don't want these bright lights on, I want to use my main light here. So I've set up a scene where those are dimmed down. But in that same scene, I can also change the background lights as well. So I've got some different presets here that I can change through just to change up the look and feel of the shot a little bit, but they're full RGB lights in the ceiling, so I can really change any of them to be whatever color I like. And the only other light that I have on is this other lamp. So you can see that that just adds a little bit more color and a little bit more depth and interest to the shot without being too overpowering, too bright, or too distracting. So again, the focus is on lighting yourself up first, then play around with the background afterwards, because it's definitely not as important. So while this lighting setup might look overcomplicated, it's actually really simple. That one main light is lighting me up. I've got the ceiling lights turned off at the front here, or dimmed right down, so they're not creating any weird shadows or anything like that. The other lights are just lighting up the room so it's lighter. And I've also got that little bit of light coming through the window as well. So you don't need to overcomplicate it. I hope now you can see the different lighting setups you can get really, really simply. So now that you've got your lighting sorted, if you want to find out why I use a $15 microphone, then check out the video linked on screen, and I'll see you in there.